The snow fell quietly on Fifth Avenue as Nathaniel Brooks stepped out of his evening business meeting. At 37, he had grown accustomed to these late nights and the endless negotiations that built his commercial development empire. His dark hair carried an early touch of silver, and his tailored black coat served as a shield against both the cold and the world. Success had come early for him, but it had cost him something he was only beginning to understand he had lost. He was reaching for his phone to call his driver when a small voice rose above the whisper of falling snow. "Excuse me, sir." Nathaniel looked down and found a little girl standing on the sidewalk, no more than 4 years old. She had reddish blonde curls escaping from beneath a worn-knit cap, her cheeks pink from the cold. She wore a puffy beige coat that had seen better days, a red dress visible beneath it, and small boots slightly too large for her feet. A green backpack hung from her tiny shoulders, and her blue eyes were wide with a fear he recognized at once. "Are you lost, sweetheart?" he asked, crouching to her level. The cold sidewalk bit through his expensive trousers, but he barely noticed. The little girl nodded slowly, her lower lip trembling. "I can't wake up my MOM." The word struck him like a blow. "What do you mean you can't wake her up? Where is she?" "At home." "I tried and tried, but she won't open her eyes." "She's on the floor by the couch." Tears slid down her round cheeks. "I got scared. I remembered she said if there's ever an emergency, go find help. So I put on my coat and came outside. But everyone just walks past me." Nathaniel's mind sharpened, years of decisive leadership rising to the surface. "What's your name, honey?" "Lila. Lila Martinez." "Okay, Lila. I'm Nathaniel. Can you show me where you live? Can you take me to your MOM?" She nodded and reached up to take his hand. The trust in that small gesture tightened something in his chest. Her fingers were cold even through her mittens. She led him down the street, around a corner, and into a neighborhood that grew steadily shabbier. Elegant storefronts gave way to older buildings with broken windows and sagging steps. They stopped before a narrow brownstone divided into apartments. Lila fumbled with a string inside her coat, trying to work the lock. Nathaniel helped her, his hands steady despite the fear rising inside him. They climbed 2 flights of stairs where the wallpaper peeled and the carpet was threadbare. The apartment was tiny, perhaps 500 square feet, but it was clean and cared for. Children's drawings covered one wall, held up with colorful tape. A small Christmas tree stood in the corner, its branches dressed with handmade ornaments. And there, just as Lila had described, a woman lay motionless on the floor beside the couch. Nathaniel rushed to her side and found a faint but steady pulse at her neck. She was young, perhaps 30, with light brown hair pulled back in a braid. Even in unconsciousness, her delicate features and the exhaustion etched into her face were clear. Her skin was too pale, and when he touched her forehead, it burned with fever. "Lila, I need to call for help, okay?" He dialed 911 with shaking fingers. While he gave the address, he noticed the stack of medical bills on the table, all stamped past due in red ink. An empty prescription bottle sat on the counter. A calendar on the wall showed shift schedules written in careful handwriting. Double shifts marked in red. The paramedics arrived quickly. Nathaniel stood back, holding Lila as she buried her face in his coat. She trembled now, silent tears soaking into the expensive fabric. He rubbed her back gently, whispering reassurances he wasn't sure he believed. "Is she diabetic?" one paramedic asked while checking vital signs. "I don't know," Nathaniel admitted. "I just found her. Are you family?" "No, her daughter came to get me." The explanation sounded absurd even to him, but the paramedic simply nodded and focused on his patient. They loaded Lila's mother onto a stretcher. "We're taking her to SD. Mary's the lead paramedic told Nathaniel. "She's in diabetic shock. Looks like she's been sick and couldn't keep her medication down. She's lucky the little one knew to get help at the hospital." Nathaniel sat in an uncomfortable plastic chair in the emergency room, still holding Lila's hand. She had stopped crying, but refused to let go. A nurse brought her a juice box and crackers, which she nibbled mechanically. "Do you have any other family?" Nathaniel asked gently. Grandparents? An aunt or uncle? Lila shook her head. Just Mommy. My daddy went away before I was born. Mommy says he wasn't ready to be a daddy. Something cracked open inside Nathaniel's chest. This brave little girl who had walked through snow to save her mother was completely alone, except for the woman fighting for her life behind those doors. A social worker appeared. A tired woman with kind eyes and a clipboard. I'm Mrs. Patterson, she said softly. Lila, honey, can you tell me what happened tonight? As Lila recounted the story in her small, halting voice, Nathaniel learned more. Her mother, Elena Martinez, worked as a night nurse at a care facility across town. She had been battling the flu for days but could not afford to miss work. After coming home from a double shift, she had collapsed. Lila had tried everything, bringing water, bringing the phone, but Elena had not woken. I'll need to place Lila in temporary foster care until her mother recovers, Mrs. Patterson said quietly to Nathaniel. There's no other family. And no, the word came out harder than he intended. He softened his voice. I mean, isn't there another option? I could stay with her, or she could come with me. You can't just send her off with strangers right now, Mrs. Patterson's eyebrows rose. Mr. Brooks, I appreciate your concern, but we have procedures. You're not family. You're not even an acquaintance. The state has protocols. Then I'll hire lawyers who can challenge those protocols. Nathaniel surprised himself with the intensity in his voice. This child just saved her mother's life by being brave enough to ask a stranger for help. I won't let her be traumatized further by being taken from the one place she feels safe, which right now is with me. The social worker studied him for a long moment, then sighed. Let me make some calls. Through a combination of Nathaniel's reputation, swift legal work, and the unusual circumstances, a temporary arrangement was approved. Nathaniel would serve as Lila's guardian until Elena recovered, with daily check-ins from social services. It was highly irregular, but given everything Lila had already endured, an exception was made. Can we see my mommy first? Lila asked, her small voice steady. They were allowed into Elena's room for a few minutes. She was awake now, though barely, connected to IVs and monitors. When she saw Lila, tears streamed down her face. Baby, I'm so sorry, she whispered. You were so brave. So brave. This is Mr. Nathaniel, Lila announced proudly. I found him on the street and he helped us. He's going to take care of me until you get better. Elena's eyes met Nathaniel's over her daughter's head. He saw gratitude there, but also fear, shame, and a fierce protective love that reminded him of his own mother, gone for many years. I'll keep her safe, he promised quietly. I'll bring her to visit every day. You focus on getting well. Elena reached out a trembling hand. Nathaniel took it. Her grip was weak, but her gaze was strong. Thank you, she whispered. I don't understand why you're doing this, but thank you. Nathaniel didn't fully understand it himself. All he knew was that when Lila had taken his hand on that snowy sidewalk, something long buried inside him had stirred awake the part he had shut down after his own family fell apart. The part he had buried beneath years of work and wars. That night, Nathaniel's penthouse, which had always felt sophisticated and minimalist, seemed cavernous and cold with a 4-year-old inside it. Lila stood in the center of the living room, her small backpack still on her shoulders. Looking lost. Are you hungry? Nathaniel asked, suddenly aware he had no idea what 4-year-olds ate. His refrigerator held leftover Thai food, craft beer, and a questionable yogurt. Lila shook her head. I'm sleepy, but I don't have my bed. We'll figure something out. Come on. He led her to the guest room, stark in whites and greys, clearly meant for adult visitors who never came. Lila looked at the massive bed, then back at him. It's too big, she said simply. I'll get lost. Nathaniel gathered pillows and blankets from a closet and built a small nest on the floor beside the bed. Lila crawled into it gratefully. Mr. Nathaniel, she said as he turned to leave. You can just call me Nathaniel. Nathaniel, will you stay until I fall asleep? I get scared in new places. He settled on the floor beside her makeshift bed, his back against the wall. Lila reached for his hand again. They sat in the dim light from the hallway, My mommy sings to me, she said quietly. But I know you probably don't know the songs. Nathaniel's throat tightened. His own mother had sung to him long ago, before illness took her. He had forgotten, or tried to. I might know a few, he said softly, and began to hum an old lullaby whose words he didn't realize he still remembered. Lila fell asleep within minutes, her breathing soft and even. But Nathaniel stayed, holding her small hand, watching this brave little girl who had walked through a snowstorm to save her mother. He thought about his own life, the glass and steel corners he had built around himself, and the years he had spent accumulating success while losing touch with everything that made life meaningful. As morning came, Nathaniel called his assistant and cleared his schedule. He took Lila shopping, a surreal experience of learning what size clothing 4-year-olds wore, what foods they liked, which toothbrush made the task less of a battle. Lila held patiently, explaining things as if he were the child. They visited Elena every day. Slowly, color returned to her face and strength to her voice. The doctor said she had been pushing herself too hard for too long. Her body had simply given out. She needed rest, proper nutrition, and consistent medication instead of rationing it to save money. During those visits, Nathaniel learned Elena's story. She had been a nursing student when she became pregnant. The father, another student, disappeared immediately. Elena dropped out to work, planning to return to school once Lila was older. But that day never arrived. Every dollar went to rent, food, and childcare. She worked doubles and triples, slept only a few hours a night, and still could barely make ends meet. I try so hard, she told him one afternoon, tears in her eyes. I want to give her everything: dance classes, nice clothes, the books she loves, but there's never enough. Nathaniel found himself telling her about his own mother, about growing up in a small apartment much like hers, watching her work herself to exhaustion to give him chances. She'd be proud of you, he said quietly. You're doing what she did. You're putting your child first, always. That's everything. When the time came for Elena to leave the hospital, Nathaniel made a decision. He had spent these days living with Lila, taking her to preschool, reading bedtime stories, learning to make the dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets she loved. He had rearranged his life around nap times and snacks and the surprisingly complex world of 4-year-old friendships, and he had felt more alive than he had in years. I have a proposition, he told Elena as she packed her hospital room. And I need you to hear me out before you say no. Elena looked wary but nodded. I have a property, a building I've been holding as an investment. It's in a good neighborhood with good schools. There's a 3-bedroom apartment there that's been sitting empty. I'd like you and Lila to live there. No rent. I can't possibly. I'm not finished, Nathaniel said gently. I'd also like to offer you a job managing the building, handling tenant relations and coordinating maintenance. The hours are flexible, mostly from home. It pays enough that you could work 1 job instead of 3 and still save money. It comes with health insurance. Elena shook her head, but Nathaniel continued. Here's the thing, Elena. Lila saved your life that night, but I think she may have saved mine too. I've spent years building a company and forgetting how to be a person. These days, watching her draw, listening to her talk about school, helping her brush her teeth, it's reminded me what actually matters. I'm not offering charity. I'm offering a chance for all of us to have something better. Why? Elena whispered. Why would you do all this? Nathaniel thought of that small hand in his on the snowy sidewalk, the trust in those blue eyes, the little girl brave enough to walk into the dark to save her mother. He thought of his own mother, of chances given and received, of the unexpected redemption life sometimes offers. Because I can, he said simply. Because you're raising an incredible human being who deserves stability and safety. Because I have more than I need, and you need more than you have, and that seems like something we should fix. And because, he paused, surprised by the emotion in his own voice, I'd like to be part of your lives if you let me. Not as charity, but as friends, maybe even the kind of family you choose. Elena was crying now. Nathaniel handed her a tissue and waited. Finally she spoke. Okay, but on one condition. Let me pay rent. even if it's minimal, and let me earn this job. I need to know I am contributing, that I am not just someone's project. Deal, Nathaniel agreed. Though I should warn you, Lila has already informed me that I am required to attend her dance recital. Apparently I am family now, whether I agreed or not. Elena laughed through her tears. She has a way of deciding these things in time. Nathaniel sat in a folding chair in an elementary school gymnasium, watching 4-year-olds in colorful costumes perform a dance routine filled with joyful chaos. Lila, in a sparkly blue costume, waved enthusiastically when she spotted him. Beside him, Elena squeezed his hand. Thank you, she whispered, for everything, for being there that night, for caring. Nathaniel squeezed back. Thank you for raising someone brave enough to ask a stranger for help, for teaching her that the world can be good, even when it's hard on stage. Lila spun slightly the wrong direction, bumped into another dancer, then giggled and kept going. Nathaniel felt his heart swell with an affection he hadn't known he was still capable of. His phone buzzed with work emails and negotiations demanding attention. He glanced at it, then turned it face down. The deals could wait. This moment, this little girl who had changed his life with 5 simple words. This makeshift family he had found in the snow, this was what mattered. Later, driving Elena and Lila home, with Lila chattering about her performance and Elena laughing at her daughter's enthusiasm, Nathaniel understood something fundamental. Success was not measured in buildings owned or deals closed. It was measured in small hands trusting yours, in the privilege of witnessing ordinary miracles, in the choice to show up and care even when it was inconvenient. Sir, my MOM didn't wake up, Lila had said on that snowy night. In asking for help, she had offered it. She had reminded a man who had forgotten how to feel that hearts could still open, that walls could still come down, and that it was never too late to build something real. Snow was falling again as they pulled up to the building, soft and quiet. Lila pressed her face to the window, watching the flakes dance in the streetlight. It's like that night, she said. The night I found you, Nathaniel. No, sweetheart, he said softly, meeting Elena's eyes in the rearview mirror. That was the night you both found me, and in that moment, with snow falling and a child's laughter filling the car and a future opening before them full of ordinary days and extraordinary love, Nathaniel Brooks finally understood what it meant to be truly wealthy.